Welcome to Joe Stunner Boxing. You know, with all the boxing that's on these days from all different platforms, sometimes fights sort of creep up on you. You think, oh, is that next week? You know, I thought that was in a month or two ahead. But no, one of them that's done that for me, I don't know about you, but it's the fight between Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. Because this is a good matchup and it's been talked about for some time now. And sure enough, it's going to be this coming Saturday. So the obvious thing is, let's take a look at it. Let's do a little bit of a prediction. You may agree or disagree. I don't know, but I'll give you my 2 cents worth. You've got Shakur Stevenson, 23 wins, no draws, no defeats, 11 KOs, 28 years old. He's a southpaw. He's a 3-weight belt holder. Started off at feather, then super feather, and now he's at lightweight. Not massive for the weight, but very, very talented, very defensively very good, very slick, chooses his punches well, doesn't try and knock you out, relies on skills to set up damaging punches, which is, I think, always a good thing. You get some people who are just pure bangers, but they set up they set up their work with good skills, good foundation, and as we know, fights are won as much with the feet as they are with the fist sometimes. You know, Stevenson has all of those qualities. Good balance, nice shape, moves around, southpaw, which can give opponents a bit of an added conundrum. But let's look at the other side of the coin, because we've got William Zepeda, 33 wins, 27 KOs, no draws, no defeats, a year older at 29, another southpaw. So we've got southpaw versus southpaw. I think on BoxRec he's listed as being about an inch taller, but whatever, that's negligible. But yeah, he very much is a banger Mexican puncher. Again, not without skills, but I think it's very fair to say it's slower than Stevenson, less flashy, concentrates more on his power, likes the body, likes to go to the body, and has scored some very, very good wins on his record. However, Zepeda is, I suppose you could say there's a question mark over him at the moment. Because if you look at his last few fights, he fought twice against Tevin Farmer, and he went the distance twice. He won a majority decision earlier this year, back in March. He won a split decision last year, in October, November, back end of last year. And in fact, he was on the floor in the first fight. Now, in the rematch earlier this year, he had Farmer on all sorts of wobbly legs, rubber legs. He was on Queer Street, staggering around early on, about third or the fourth. But nevertheless, Farmer survived and came back pretty well. Now, when you factor in that Farmer only a couple of weeks ago was blown away by Floyd Schofield in less than a round, I suppose these results haven't really, dated well. They haven't really aged well. However, we should bear in mind that it's possible Tevin Farmer, with those 24 tough rounds, was softened up by Zepeda, or maybe just got caught early against Schofield. It was a brilliant performance by Schofield, a real statement win. But Farmer, a former super feather champ, very, very good fighter, very tough, very, very tough, despite that one-round blowout. I mean, he's a tough guy, a real fighting man. But at the back end of his career now, he's in his mid-30s, and he's lost 3 on the bounce. The 2 to Zepeda, nothing wrong with those. Being blown away in a round it's a bit different. You can get caught cold, but, But anyway, there's now a question mark over Zepeda because, of course, Farmer, very high ring IQ, very slick skills, fast, good footwork. Who does that remind you of? Try Shakur Stevenson. And Farmer doesn't have many knockouts on his record. Probably hits harder than his record suggests, but I think it's timing and technique that gets him knockdowns. And you could say it's the same with Stevenson, because if you look at Stevenson's last fight, that was a 9th round stoppage over Josh Padley, who had never been anywhere near world level before. That was for the WBC lightweight title, which was held by Stevenson. And Padley gave a very, very good account of himself, Got stopped in the ninth, floored 3 times. Was it body shots again? So, Shakur Stevenson himself, not averse to going to the body and doing it well. And I think that is Shakur's one of Shakur's strengths. He picks his punches very well. He knows he's got 12 rounds to play with. He can bring it on strong, go through the gears. He's quite happy in the early rounds to have a look, win them with a few, pop jabs, and maybe keep the guy honest with the odd body punch or backhand. But a very good, very, very, a very, very high ring IQ, I think, on Shakur Stevenson, just as Tevin Farmer has. Now, is that going to translate and give Zepeda problems? I would say yes. If you look at some of Shakur's performances, Artem Haratunyan, he went the distance with him and won most of the rounds from what I can remember of that fight. It wasn't a very memorable fight. Won a unanimous decision. Same with Edwin de los Santos. He won most of the rounds. I think the scorecards were closer than I thought the fight was, but he looked disinterested. He really did. Robinson Conceição, he beat him on points. And you that was back down at super featherweight, but you can think to yourself, well, shouldn't Shakur be stopping these guys? In my opinion, he doesn't try to, and a lot of the time he does come across as being disinterested and unmotivated, as if he's sort of got himself physically prepared, but the emotion just isn't there. That sort of killer instinct isn't there. He seems like a very sort of relaxed kid who, I say kid, he's 28 now. I thought he was still much younger. I thought he was about 25. No, he's 28. But he does seem like he's not bothered about knocking you out. I've got 12 little mini fights in a world championship fight, and I'm going to win each of these little mini battles. That seems to be his attitude. And if I stop you, if you get softened up, I'll knock you out. But you can't beat me. In other words, he has complete faith in his skills. Now, with Zepeda, although he does have skills, he's got slower feet. His hands are slower than Stevenson. Doesn't necessarily matter because timing can kill speed. But with Zepeda, I get the feeling that he is far more reliant on his power. And it is very easy when you're a banger to fall in love with your own power or even your own press, your own hype or whatever. So I think that I strongly favour Stevenson to win this fight. I really do. And in fact, I think he will probably win a 116 to 112, 117, 111, that sort of range, comfortably beat Zepeda. I think he'll basically just outbox him. And I don't think it will be necessarily an exciting fight. It's a good matchup because you've got 2 undefeated guys, very highly thought of. Zepeda's a worthy champion. He's been a very good fighter. And, he is a very good fighter. But I say champion. Of course, he won the interim belt, which I suppose you could say, well, it definitely isn't a world title. But he's getting a good chance now to make a statement. But I don't actually think he's going to be able to get across the line. I think Shakur Stevenson will have too much speed, too much timing, too much of a ring IQ. I think he'll be able to defuse the bomb, so to speak, where Zepeda's power is concerned. I think for Zepeda to win, he's got to start very, very quickly, but that's difficult to do against Shakur. He's got to impose himself on Shakur, cut the ring off, and he does that very well. He can start quickly, Zepeda. And I think probably the first 2 or 3 rounds, Shakur will have to mind his P's and Q's, be sort of on it and make sure he don't get sloppy. In other words, he needs to be motivated for this fight. He needs to be emotionally tuned in to this fight because this is a dangerous fight. But I see him coming through the first 3-4 rounds, taking over and boxing his way to a comfortable, unanimous decision. So that is my prediction. Don't know what you think. Leave your comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Regardless, leave your comments below and let me know why you think the way you do. I don't think this will be the most exciting of fights. Stevenson, the knock against Stevenson is that he is boring to watch, and that has proved to be the case in several of those 12-round decisions that he's won. Very, very dull to watch. But you never know. Zepeda might put the heat on him, drag him into a bit of a fight, but I do think that Stevenson wins this fight on points. Like I say, comfortably. So thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and also, join us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. It takes a second, costs you nothing, and you're helping the channel out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. It's Thursday the 10th of July, 2025. Have a good one. I'll get you later. Bye for now.